documentary filmmaker of the film Border, was showed to Congress back in 2007, is now making a new film, BackToTheBorder.com. We were down in Falfurrias, Texas, and interviewed the Vickers, the ranchers, who have all the photos of the dead children and piles of dead bodies. That's now hit national news via other media picking it up, which is fine with me. A lot of times we report something a month ago and then see basically the same report come out later by others. That's good. We just want the information to come out, ladies and gentlemen. And we are the new media at Infowars.com. Chris, getting back to you, other points that need to be made. You were getting into the political cover of the cartels, of the coyotes. Here in Austin, you know, we've seen city council people whose brothers get busted being coyotes and running all sorts of stuff. And it's really a gangsterism that permeates, and then the gangs kind of work under folks. And now they're trying to intimidate Hispanics, period, that if you don't get for ending the border and just merging with Latin America, as Latin America collapses, you're insane. It's like saying if you don't slit your wrist and jump into a shark tank, you're a bad person. I mean, it's just, it's so obvious that we don't want to have wide open borders. It's so obvious that Latin America is descending into hell. It's so obvious that kidnappings and crime are exploding everywhere in the U.S. for the first time in decades, because the worst of the worst are coming up here. America is like a joke. I mean, it's so over the top. It's so bizarre. And then they just go, hey, do it or you're a racist. The political correctness, the bizarreness, the arrogance of Robert Rodriguez living in his $30 million house, you know, running around saying Viva La Raza. It's just like, I'd say Viva La Raza if the countries weren't collapsing and the people had jobs and were, it's crazy town. What do you think the end game is? And then I want you to talk about just the bigger picture.
Well, I think, first of all, you have to understand, you have to have a lot of respect for the drug cartels, because they are running multi-billion-dollar operations and they are playing chess when everyone else is playing checkers. And you have to look at the business model that's worked. Look, it's called plata or plomo, silver or lead. And it worked in Colombia, and then it came up through Central America, and you see what's happened to Mexico. Why should those same business principles not work in the United States? If I was running an organization, I would use what works for me. And in the last 9 years, unfortunately, I'm seeing this momentum coming at us, not stopping at the border, but rolling into the United States. I mean, let's look at the kidnappings in Arizona. I mean, it's here, guys. And these folks that, like Zach told you about, the majority of people that you're not seeing, you know, these young gangbangers being brought in, and across New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, every Border Patrol agent I talked to said they're seeing in almost every group young gangbangers coming up from Central America and from Mexico. This is personnel. These are soldiers that they're using to put in their infrastructure. You're talking about an industry that all the reports I've read say they make $6.6 billion a year in trafficking humans and more than $7 billion a year trafficking narcotics. That's a $14 billion a year industry. You can buy a lot with that. End game, I hope you don't end up looking like Mexico. And I love Mexico. I used to go surfing there several times a year. I go with my church down in Mexico to build houses. There's good people down there who are being decimated. I do not want to see that happen in this country. I do not want my kids growing up in a country that is not what my dad left me.
Well, I know I've been to Guatemala and Honduras and places, and my dad's done aid missions down to South America, down in the Green Hell, in Paraguay and places like that. And it's not just that it's scary, it's the feeling of desperateness, the feeling of oppression. The cops smile at you with gold teeth and laugh at you and laugh at everybody else, and everyone's scared. I mean, it's just a feeling of failure and sadness, and you're so sad for the people. And now that's America, and Hollywood and the Democrats and the Republican leaders are just hailing the TB and hailing the scabies and hailing the Black Plague and hailing the dead bodies and the kidnappings and just smiling and saying it's a beautiful new age. What the hell is wrong with the political class in this country? I mean, how did we get to this?
Money, power, what's cool? I mean, when I first started reporting this 9 years ago, first thing they did was they hit me as being a racist, a bad person, which is laughable for anybody that knows me or knows my family. So you ride the cool factor. Anybody that cares about border security is a racist. They're a bad person. Anybody, and politicians, they will ride that. You got to follow the money and follow the power. And securing the border isn't cool. Standing up for America isn't cool. Being concerned about what we're doing to our kids' future, that's just not cool. And people are going to do what they feel, whether it's in politics or pop culture. And until people feel that there's something going on they need to pay attention to, and now you're starting to see it. You know, the Texas border sheriffs used to always say, look, what we're dealing with on the border today, the sheriffs in the rest of the country are going to be dealing with tomorrow. Well, today is now tomorrow. And it's not until it's in their own communities that people are actually going to pay attention to this. I hope to heck the deaths don't go up in Chicago. But if I'm on the border and I'm seeing guys being brought in that I think may be soldiers for the cartels, and I see what the Sinaloa cartel is doing in Chicago, I have serious concern that we're going to see more violence in areas like that.
Well, I mean, let's face it, America's been free for so long, and people just have no idea how dangerous the world is, and America is just begging to collapse. DrudgeReport.com has red-linked hundreds of dead border crossers in single Texas county. Rancher shares grotesque photos, and I'm glad that those reports are out from the Daily Mail. They're calling it an exclusive. Well, not really. Back on July 4th, about a month ago, or a little under a month ago, we have the report, The Illegal Invasion from Ground Zero. And so I think we should take the Daily Mail, post part of it, but then also post our report, because ours is even more detailed, actual video interviews with John Bound talking to the very Texas ranchers that are trying to warn people. So again, I'm not in competition here with the fact that this is getting out. I'm glad it is in a major paper. Good job, Daily Mail. Just we have the actual video, not just the photos, in the 7-minute report by John Bound titled The Illegal Invasion from Ground Zero. We probably should just change the YouTube name to Video of Hundreds of Dead Illegals in Texas, or Video and Photos of Dead Illegal Children in Texas. And so people will pay attention to this report that aired on the Nightly News on July 4th, and it was a special report. And then we'll have that reposted to Infowars.com so it can augment the Daily Mail report. But again, that's why we have Chris Burgard on. He's down there detailing this, and he has this in his previous film, Border, and now in the new one, Back to the Border. And I mean, we're talking about little dead Mexican girls, folks, with their faces shriveled with flies coming out their eyes, okay? This is horrible. And I feel for these children. You know, they say, oh, let them come here. They're trying to get away from collapsed societies. We're going to collapse. Okay? I mean, you know, if Obama said, let's raise money to build schools down in Guatemala and teach free market, I'd say, okay, let's raise money. But they're not doing that. They want to bring the failure, the corruption, the mafia up here to sabotage the country. I mean, the criminals get off on ugliness. And I'm telling you, folks, the Democratic Party and the people skimming money off the border invasion, they love it. And they are ordering the Border Patrol to stand down, not letting them have telephones, not letting them have bullets, not letting them shoot back. It is joke level, people. Chris, other points on this in closing?
I think that one of the positives I've seen in 9 years is what you just brought up. Whereas reports like yours years ago would have been marginalized and dismissed by most of the American public, now you're leading the news. Now people are paying attention and people are saying, all these folks that we tried to marginalize, maybe they were right all these years after all. And I think that an informed public, is an educated public, is a healthy public. And I think that politicians can only get away with what the American people let them get away with. Knowledge is power, Alex. And the more knowledge, the more information we get to the everyday American, the better chance we have to make it through this.
I hear you. It's just, you know, I don't want to leave the United States because I realize this is a globalist model. It's happening everywhere. But I mean, what if it leaves me? I mean, I don't want to live in Guatemala or Honduras. I mean, right over the Texas border, you know, the bodies hanging off road signs, the dead police, the newspapers basically all closed along the Texas border because of rocket attacks on both sides. And I mean, I would see truck bombs go off, rocket attacks, and it didn't even make the Dallas Morning News when a newspaper gets hit by mortars because they reported on the cartels. I mean, I've been threatened by them. And, you know, told, you better not come out and protest our open borders demonstration. We'll kill you. Of course, I went out and did it. But, I mean, it's just, God, I guess America just has a death wish. If America doesn't come together against this, I mean, why is everyone fleeing the South if we want to make it like that here? I just don't get it. It's like, let's flee the South, but then let's promote that culture and adopt it here. What do you say to that?
I say that don't underestimate the will of the American people. The American people are not the politicians. They are not the mainstream media. American people will wake up to this. American people will stand for what's right and what's wrong. It's a question of a tipping point. Do we get enough information out to 300 million people before it's too late?
Yeah, and the Democratic Party and the Republican leadership want to exploit these tens of millions of desperate people while using our bleeding hearts to go along with it. Thank you so much. Alex Jones here for Infowars.com. We're going to be intensifying our efforts to awaken free humanity to the scourge of the globalist in the month of July. And starting this July 4th, we are going to slash prices in a celebration of true Americana, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, and the Declaration of Independence on all of the Made in America products that you will find at madein1776.com or InfoWarsStore.com. We're talking about Made in America belt buckles in brass and nickeled brass that state it loud and proud. Molon Labe. That's why we have the best-selling Made in America men's and women's Molon Labe Infowars.com shirts. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a win-win. You vote with your dollars. You support the most hardcore organization out there for promoting true ideas of libertarianism, constitutionalism, basic human empowerment. But more importantly, you get T-shirts and belt buckles so you can meet like-minded people. So you have a conversation starter with friends and family and coworkers. We are reaching out to each other. And you also throw it in the face of the anti-gunners and the rest of the parasites out there that you're a free man and woman, and that you're not going to be a slave, that you're not going to be intimidated to shut up by their tyranny that they call political correctness. That's why in the month of July, we have got giant specials on everything at madein1776.com. But to expand the InfoWar, we're offering the biggest special in the history, 13 years of PrisonPlanet.tv, our multimedia platform. We're offering the equivalent of more than 5 months free right now when you get a membership at PrisonPlanet.tv, and you get 11 memberships that can be used with the same username and passcode so you can share it with friends and family. Now is the time to fund the war bonds. Now is the time to fund the InfoWar. Now is the time to get aggressive. Now is the time to double down. Now is the time to realize you are the people that made the InfoWar so successful and one of the leading lights worldwide against tyranny. You don't stand behind us, you stand right beside us, and I salute all of you on this July 4th, 2014, and going forward in the month of July and onward. This is about freedom worldwide and that desire for human dignity and self-determination that beats in the human breast. We are brothers and sisters together in the true spirit of liberty and the animating contest of liberty. And so I quote in closing the great Thomas Jefferson that I have sworn on the altar of God resistance against every form of tyranny. And never forget, if you are watching or listening to this transmission, you are the resistance.